A lot of people think that Miami and Fort Lauderdale are pretty much the same city, but that can't be further from the truth. Por ejemplo, si no hablas español en Miami, estás perdido. And for those of you who don't speak Spanish, it essentially means if you don't speak Spanish in Miami, you're screwed. Well, it's not entirely true, but a lot of people in Miami speak Spanish. Compared to that of Fort Lauderdale, where pretty much everything's in English. But what about everything else? So for example, let's talk about the city feel. I will say Miami definitely feels like a much bigger city than that of Fort Lauderdale. In terms of the beaches, I will say they're pretty even. Obviously, Miami has some of the most famous beaches in the world, including that of South Beach, and they even have a nude beach in Hollover. But I'd argue that Fort Lauderdale Beach is just as nice, plus there's little pockets of hidden beaches that get nowhere near as packed. From there, we have the boating. I will say it's fairly similar in both, but I will give the nod to Fort Lauderdale because it is a little bit more laid back, plus there's not as many crazy people out on the water. From there, we have the food, which is probably the most important, and I will say Miami probably takes the cake on this one. By far the best upscale dining options, Michelin star, and even some hole-in-the-wall options. But don't worry, we have the GOAT chicken kitchen in both cities. From there, what about entertainment and nightlife? Well, I think it really depends on what you like. Miami is world famous for some of its clubs, like that of 11 and Space. But there's also a great bar scene that not a whole lot of people talk about, including some of the best rooftop bars in all of South Florida. Now, Fort Lauderdale is a lot more laid back, very similar to that of the boating. We have a lot more bars and things on the water, not as many clubs. But we are getting more and more rooftop bars, like that of Nube on top of the Hilton, which is absolutely sweet. You have to go and check it out. Now, when it comes to the real estate, this is where things start to get interesting. Miami absolutely shines when it comes to new construction projects, whether you're talking about the Mandarin Oriental in Brickell Key or the brand new Waldorf Astoria. There are some of the most unbelievable buildings coming to Miami. And Fort Lauderdale was definitely behind the 8 ball for the longest time. But now we have a ton of new projects coming that are not only going to reshape the skyline, but also potentially rival that of Miami. Now, in terms of resale options, the median price point's right around the same for both cities, right in between $630,000 to $640,000. However, Miami goes all the way up to $135 million for their most expensive listing on the market right now, and Fort Lauderdale only goes up to $50 million, which is still nuts to think about. But let me know in the comments, would you rather live in Miami or would you rather live in Fort Lauderdale?